Hey DFS players, it's your boy Manny here once again. Welcome to DFS Zone, your source for daily fantasy sports lineups for the NFL, NBA, and MLB. And of course, like always, before I continue, guys, I would appreciate a like on the video. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so that you will never miss any of my new uploads. And I intend to upload daily on the NBA, and of course we have the Major League Baseball season starting a couple weeks away, so stay tuned for that as well, because there will be two videos a day. There will be the NBA Stud 5, and there will be the Stud 5 for MLB as well. So a lot of stuff coming your way, so subscribe and put on those notifications so you don't miss out on those. Alright, Stud 5 for today. Today is March the 15th, 2018. We have a 9-game slate, guys. 9-game slate, pretty big slate. Got a couple decent games, got a couple games that, not going to be too interesting, but I did come up with 5 guys that I think I'm going to definitely play on multiple lineups, as well as I believe that they are the best possible 5 options for anyone who wants to make a lineup today. And let's just dive right in. My first stud for the day is going to come out of the point guard position, and it's going to be Mr. Ricky Rubio. All right, Ricky Rubio is at home. I know this, I know everybody's going to start thinking this game could possibly be a blowout, and yes, it can be. But I'm still taking a chance here that this game is going to stay fairly close for at least 3.5 quarters. And I like Ricky Rubio here. Rubio has put up some really decent numbers against Phoenix. First things first, we know that Phoenix doesn't really defend that well. They're a little bit better now in the point guard position because they got Alfred Payton as opposed to before. They're slightly a little bit better defensively at that position now, but they're still one of the worst in the league. As I look closely here, I mean, they're 28th. They're defending the point guard position. So Rubio's in a very good spot here. We know that Alfred Payton is not the greatest defender in the game. Rubio, the long as this game stays fairly close, I think Rubio will have an outstanding game. So definitely pencil in Ricky Rubio. He has had let me look here real quickly against Phoenix. Yeah, I mean, his last 4 outings going back to 2016. He's put up last 2 outings 40.70, 44.30 fantasy points, and he had 34 and 30 the previous 2 games before that. All 4 of them met value every single time. I expect him to be meeting value again today. So pencil in Ricky Rubio as your first stud. Your second stud, my second stud of the game, is also going to come out of the point guard position, and I like Mr. DeJounte Murray. All right, San Antonio against New Orleans. We all know New Orleans also very much suffers defensively against the point guard position, and DeJounte Murray has been playing very well as of late. He has put up some decent numbers here. Let's look real closely. I mean, he's had a couple of duds, but he has 29, he has 31 here. I really think he's going to do well. And on top of that, DeJounte has had games where he's put up some really good numbers against New Orleans, as well as most point guards do. His last 2 outings against New Orleans, he's put up 40 fantasy points, and then the previous game before that was 33. They were both this year in November, and then recently on February 28th he put 40 fantasy points. So he is capable of 40, and we know that he's capable of for an upside. So he's a great GPP play today. I think at home, DeJounte Murray is going to light it up against New Orleans. My third stud for today, he's been on fire, and he's actually been doing really well for his team, which the team, they actually have been doing pretty bad, but he has actually had very good success playing as of late, and it's coming out of the small forward position, and that's Mr. Prince for the Atlanta Hawks. They're playing against Charlotte, and they actually are at home. They do play better at home, Atlanta. They're one of those little teams. They're one of those teams that are very sneakily, they have these horrible games at home, but then they also have these awesome games at home. So Taron Prince has had to step it up. They have so much injuries on this team that, he had no choice. I guess he really felt like he had to really step it up and step up his game. he has had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's had 7 out of his last 9, 10 games. He has met value and then some. And his last 2 games, 56 and 46 respectable fantasy points. And then against Charlotte, he's had 2, 27 and 26 games against them. But I'm banking on him on this particular game simply because he is at home, he is on fire, and he has taken it upon his shoulder now that he's going to have to be the one that's going to have to take the bulk of the shots and be the one that puts up the scoring. So he is, for me, I think he's a good play tonight with Charlotte. So pencil in Mr. Prince as your 3rd stud. Your 4th stud is going to be coming out of the power forward position, from the shooting guard position, and I'm going to go with Mr. Lou Williams. Now, I was thinking either McCollum or Williams here. McCollum has been playing really, really solid lately, so he's a worthy mention, which I'm going to discuss in a little bit. But I'm going with Lou Will against Houston. This game should be a game that's going to be fairly close. I think Los Angeles, the Clippers, are going to stay close in this game, and Lou knows that he's going to have to step it up and really perform well here against them to be able to keep the Clippers in it. And Lou Will has had his success there. Houston is 22nd against the shooting guard position. He has been a little bit in the red in the last 3 games. He's put up 32, 28, and 27, so he's had some dud games. But I think he's going to come out of it today. And not only that, he's had 2 50-plus games against Houston this year, where he put up 31 and 9 assists in the last previous game, which was back on January the 15th. And then on December 22nd, he put 52 fantasy points. He lit it up for 32 points, and he had 7 assists with 3 steals. So I would say pencil in Mr. Lou Williams today. I think Lou Williams is going to do well against Houston, and he's my 4th stud. And then the final stud will be someone a little bit of value, is a little cheaper play. I'm going with Thaddeus Young. Okay, Thaddeus Young in this lineup. Simply because Thaddeus Young is starting to, he has had a little bit of a drought. He hasn't played very well in his last previous games, but for where he's at right now, when he plays Toronto, he seems to play them fairly well. His last game, after 4 duds in a row, he actually put up 39 fantasy points in his previous game, and against Toronto, the last 5 games against them, dating back to 2016, he's put up 24 fantasy points or better, and he's had 2 30-plus games, and he's had one 39.30, which was almost 40 points, and that one came actually this year in November. So I think Thaddeus Young is a good, solid, low-cost value play today, and as you can see here, you still have 65, 75 to work with to build the remainder of this team. So, that is my stud 5 for today. I think now I'm going to discuss with you guys. There is a couple of guys that I think are worthy to mention here, and you can actually pull and choose any one of those guys over some of these guys. But I looked in, there's a number of guys that I'm going to discuss right now that are worthy mentions here. If you wanted not to play a Ricky Rubio or a DeJounte Murray, you could go at point guard with a Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker has put up he's had 3 games against Atlanta where he has put up 48, 44, and 43 fantasy points. And, we all know that Kemba plays well at home. He's actually historically is a better player at home in Charlotte. But this game is in Atlanta, so you never know what kind of Kemba Walker you're going to get. If you guys watch him long enough, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. But he definitely has a history of performing better at home. So that's why I'm a little hesitant on Walker. He will probably be on 1 or 2 of my lineups. I'm going to be honest with you, because he has that potential, and he has the potential to really, give you 5 and 6x here. So he's very capable of it. And in a game like this against Atlanta, the only thing is that if the Charlotte is playing well and Atlanta isn't, this could actually be a blowout as well. So we got to watch out for that. Atlanta does play better at home, so I expect him to be in this game, and I think Kemba Walker will probably have a good game here. Like I said, I'm going to throw him in a couple of my lineups, but he's not one of my main studs, but I think he's a worthy mention for anybody who's interested in a stud player that could possibly have a big game. I think Kimba is one of those guys. At point guard also, you have the revenge game type of thing with Chris Paul. I'm not on Chris Paul at all tonight. Not only on price, but also he has not performed well against his old team. He's at 29, I think 32 fantasy points in the 2 games against them. And I don't know, this may be the game that he may break out in it, but it's entirely up to you. It's an option. I think he is in play for some people, but for me, he's not. But I think he's a worthy mention. Just if you want to use that, revenge game adjective on it, then I guess that will work. Another guy we go down the list here, shooting guard. Zach LaVine has had 5 straight good value games against the Memphis Grizzlies. He's actually played very, very well against Memphis historically over his last 5 games against Memphis, but he has not been playing well at all. He hasn't hit value in 7 straight games. So, for me, that's a little bit of risk for me tonight on Zach. He may just have one of those days where this is it. He may turn it around, and that's the one thing that you can look forward to with Zach LaVine, is that he may just turn this thing around starting tonight against Memphis and say, hey, you know what, historically I have not played well against Memphis and it's time for me to step it up. But I'm not on Zach LaVine tonight, but I think it's a worthy mention simply because he has had 5 straight good games against Memphis. So historically he's done well. So we'll see what happens tonight. As we move down the list, I like also Mr. Robert Covington, small forward. I think he'll probably be in 1 or 2 of my lineups as well at the 3 spot. He has crushed value in 5 straight games. He was definitely having a struggle. He was definitely struggling with a shot. They actually were not giving him sufficient minutes. He has turned it up in the last 5 games. He's really back to the Robert Covington you've seen before. Pretty good defender, hitting his threes, hitting his jump shots, penetrating, making things happen. He is going up against the Knicks, and we know that Michael Beasley is not the best defender in the world. So Covington is in a good spot. I think this is a good matchup for Covington today, and I think he's really hot right now. He's on fire. I think he'll continue that and have another good value game today, and probably crush value for the 6th game in a row. He will probably be in some of my lineups. I won't say he's stud 5 today, but he is definitely a worthy mention, and that's why I'm offering. I figured let me just bring that out to you guys. Another guy on my list that is a worthy mention is Josh Jackson at small forward at the 3 spot. He's had 2 good games against Utah, and he has hit value on both of those games. He put up 34.40 and 29.80 in the 2 games respectively. And he was definitely having a tough time over the last 4 or 5 games, but in the last game or 2 he's been able to turn it back up, and I think Josh is heading in the right direction. So I think he's a good play for tonight as well. I have here also some value plays. I think it's 3 value plays that really come into play. There's actually 4 thinking about it. You got Mr. Gay. Rudy, I think Gay is in a good position today also as well as a value play. He has had 2 games against New Orleans Pelicans this year, and he's put up 41 and 26 fantasy points in both of those games. And his value is his price is really not that bad at all. Let's see where he's at. I think he's under 5. Rudy Gay, yeah, he's $4,200. I think he's a better play tonight than Anderson. The only problem I don't like, the only thing about Rudy Gay or the San Antonio Spurs, I'm very selective when I choose a San Antonio Spurs player. I've tried Kyle Anderson. He's come through once or twice, and I've had him just lay down some goose eggs for me. Same thing with Rudy Gay. The only one who's really been pretty consistent all year, other than when he's not hurt, has been Aldridge. And there have been times that Paul Gasol has had some great games for me as well. But San Antonio is just, you don't know when the coach is going to sit somebody like he did. What he did the other night, the team didn't start off that well. He sat the whole starting team, and then Paul Gasol never got in rhythm, and I had him in my lineup. as well as Kyle Anderson, and I lost out. It's just these are the things that you gotta worry about when you're dealing with the San Antonio Spurs players. You don't know whom is going to play. You don't know when you're going to see Ginobili play more than Murray. And it drives me insane. So I try to stay away from San Antonio players, even though I did give you DeJounte Murray today. I think he's in a great spot. I'm going to play him. But everybody else, I definitely take a back seat on it. But I think out of anybody else on the San Antonio Spurs for tonight, I think Rudy Gay is a good spot. He's in a good spot tonight for a good value play at $4,200. He only has to give you 21 points, and I think he can do that. I think he can definitely do that. So, and that's pretty much around his average, as you can see, 22.2. Another good value play, other than Mr. Gay, is Mr. Mason Plumlee. I think Plumlee also, Denver versus Detroit. They're going to have the battle here because you got Blake Griffin. Paul Millsap is a good play today too. 7,000. I'm not too sure. He doesn't have a great history against Detroit, but he has been playing well. Mason Plumlee is a different story. Plumlee has been obviously reduced in minutes, but he has put, for example, here, his last 3 games, 18, 20, 21 minutes, but he has produced more than 1 point a minute. 23 here, 21 and 28. And he's going to have to come in and spell relief for Millsap, and especially Millsap gets into foul trouble here. Blake Griffin is not the greatest defender. He hasn't been defending well this year. So, Millsap and Plumlee will probably get their good share of run here today, and they both will probably put up some good spot. I think I see Plumlee definitely, crushing that 4,200. As long as he gets his 21 minutes, he's going to put up, 20, 25 plus, I think, in this game. So I think he's a good value play if anybody's looking for someone cheap, and be able to, go a little bit more expensive and use one of the studs, and maybe at the center position. I think it's the center position today. There's a lot of monsters here today. You got Embiid, you got Drummond, you got Gobert, you got Jokic, you got DeAndre Jordan, who had that monster game the other day. You got Howard, you got Powell, you got Marc Gasol, and you got Valanciunas and Capella. It's a lot of guys. Nurkic, even Cantor. Cantor is probably a nice little low value play here, $5,800. Ines Cantor has done well against Philadelphia. He really has. So he might be someone you may consider. I think he scored like a 50-somewhat point game against Philadelphia back in New York the last time they were there earlier in the year. So, guys, so that's pretty much it. There goes your stud 5 for the day. You got Rubio, Murray, you got Lou Will, you got Taron Prince, and you got Thaddeus Young, and you got some nice little, value plays in Plumlee and Gay, and I gave you a couple of notable guys: Walker, Covington, Chris Paul, Zach LaVine, Josh Jackson, and you can even consider Portis as well. I think Portis is in a good spot, especially that marketing is out. I think he will definitely see quite a bit of action against Memphis. So there you go, guys. You got a couple plays there. I wish everybody luck, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do, and drop a like. And if you have any comments, please just go down to the bottom, comment down below. And I'm willing to discuss anything pertaining to basketball. I love talking about sports, so if anybody has any questions or anybody wants to discuss other things other than, or just talk about, or just shoot the shit about, basketball, baseball, or the NFL, with the NFL draft and all the movement that's going on with free agency, if you want to discuss that, I'm all for it. I just want to build a nice community and a place for everybody to just, shoot the shit and talk about sports, and especially the 3 major sports and that I love most of all, which is the NFL, the NBA, and MLB. So with that being said, guys, God bless. Good luck to everybody tonight, and we'll see each other tomorrow.